Right after. Please. Praise it. Order. Forward. Count.
Welcome to the 2024 Governor's Life-Saving Awards and Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor ceremony. I am Stephen Bayens, the Commissioner of the Iowa Department of Public Safety. Thank you for joining us today as we recognize and honor heroic citizens and first responders from across our state who intentionally and selflessly provided aid in the time of need. With the historic state capitol serving as our beautiful backdrop, this ceremony is always a poignant reminder of the brave Iowans that grace our state. Joining us today in honoring these brave Iowans are Governor Kim Reynolds, Colonel Nathan Folk of the Iowa State Patrol, and Kelly Sullivan, representing her grandfather, great uncles, and the entire Sullivan family. We are also incredibly blessed to have the Young Patriots perform today. Thank you so much for sharing your talents and honoring today's honorees with the gift of song. Additionally, we would like to recognize any veterans and any current or retired first responders who have joined us today. Would you please stand and let us thank you for your service and for the sacrifice you made and continue to make in keeping our community safe. Please stand. Thank you. Finally, we'd like to recognize any state senators or representatives who have joined us today. Thank you for giving of your time as we honor your hometown heroes. At this time, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Governor Kim Reynolds. She's a steadfast supporter of law enforcement and consistently sets the tone for everything we strive to achieve in public safety. I know she's incredibly honored to join us today as we recognize those Iowans who went above and beyond to save the lives of others. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Kim Reynolds.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Commissioner Baynes, for that kind introduction and for your unmatched leadership of the Department of Public Safety. Every Iowan should be grateful to have a public servant of your high caliber in this critical law enforcement role. Thank you for serving our state so well. And as always, it is truly an honor to be here this morning in our beautiful capital to recognize the exceptional recipients of the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor and the Governor's Life Savings Award. As President Calvin Coolidge once said, heroism isn't simply found in a person, but also in the occasion that gives rise to the heroic act. And there are few more demanding tests of that virtue than moments of sudden, life-threatening danger or severe hardship. The Iowans that we're honoring today met the challenge with bravery and presence of mind characteristic of true heroes. Today, we stop, pause, and we express our gratitude for their remarkable courage. The Governor's Life-Saving Award recognizes everyday citizens who have attempted to save someone's life or assisted in an emergency situation. Since 1977, numerous Iowans have received this award for responding to a moment of crisis with both decisiveness and generosity, sometimes to the point of putting their own lives at risk. They have always represented the very best of our great state, and this year's recipients are no different. The Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor for Peace Officers and Firefighters is named after 5 Iowa brothers who served and died when the USS Juneau was sunk during World War II. They entered the service with the assurance that the 5 of them would remain together, and they did exactly that until the very end. Their commitment to serve and their determination to stay together capture something fundamental about what it means and what it takes to be a peace officer or firefighter. These are deeply fraternal professions united by a willingness to lay down one's life for the sake of others. There are people alive today, some of whom are in attendance, thanks to those who lived up to this high call. To help celebrate them, we are privileged to be joined for the 3rd year in a row by the granddaughter of Albert Sullivan, one of the 5 brothers who gave their lives for our country all those years ago. Kelly is a busy 3rd grade teacher in Waterloo, but still finds time to give back to our veterans, honoring their sacrifice and promoting awareness of her family's remarkable story. In the 90s, she christened and commissioned the 2nd USS The Sullivans and continues to serve as the ship's sponsor. She also sits on the commissioning committee of the new USS Iowa and educates the public about her family's rich history. Simply put, Kelly is an unmatched advocate for our veterans and a living embodiment of the Sullivan legacy of service. And in a few moments, we'll invite her to help hand out the awards named in the honor of her family. Kelly, we're so pleased to have you with us today, and I want to thank you for all of our support for our veterans. What I always look forward to most about this event is hearing the remarkable stories of our award winners and then having the chance to thank them personally. I usually get similar replies. I did what anyone else would have done, or that's just what Iowans do in times of need. And needless to say, that's far too modest, but it does point to something special about Iowa. The greatness of our state really does lie in our people. Iowans are humble, brave, and caring. They look after both neighbors and strangers in need, and they don't count the cost. Year after year, this ceremony demonstrates just how deep those qualities run. So on behalf of the state of Iowa, it is my pleasure to congratulate and thank each of these outstanding Iowans for their heroism. You are an inspiration to all of us. Again, congratulations, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Reynolds. We begin today's ceremony with the Governor's Lifesaving Awards. These awards were implemented during Governor Robert Ray's administration in the 1970s. They are presented to everyday Iowans who have performed courageous acts during life-threatening situations or for services rendered during an emergency. Today, we honor one recipient with the Outstanding Service Award, one recipient with the Life-Saving Award, and 2 recipients with the Governor's Life-Saving Award with Valor. Before we introduce our honorees, I'd like to remind family members that all recipients will have access to photos of the ceremony that our staff photographer is taking, and you're welcome to stay afterwards and take as many photos as you would like. Our first recipient today is receiving the Outstanding Service Award. Would you please stand as I introduce you? Randy Hartley, Outstanding Service Award. On October 27th, 2023, Randy Hartley of Adel was working what he presumed would be a typical day at the Veterans Reception Center in Van Meter when he observed a coworker pull into the parking lot and immediately cry out for help. Randy rushed to her car and she told him something was seriously wrong. Randy looked into her eyes, saw they were dilated, assessed her symptoms, and immediately called 911. While waiting for emergency services to arrive, Randy stayed by his coworker's side, ensuring she remained conscious, comfortable, and upright. When rescue personnel reached the scene, Randy provided them crucial information, including his suspicion that she may have suffered a brain bleed. The employee was rushed to a local hospital and later to the University of Iowa for specialized care, where doctors confirmed she had in fact suffered a subarachnoid hemorrhage. Throughout her hospitalization and recovery, Randy kept in touch and offered his continued support. Neurologists later confirmed that without Randy's quick response and decisive action, his coworker's prognosis would have been dim. His swift thinking and genuine concern for another illustrates the type of character this award honors. For his efforts, Randy Hartley is being recognized with the Outstanding Service Award. Please join me in congratulating Randy. Our next recipient is receiving the Lifesaving Award. Would you please stand as I introduce you? Tyler Borneman, Lifesaving Award. On January 2nd, 2024, a girls' basketball practice during winter break at Waterloo West High School quickly morphed into crisis when their head coach decided to take a quick break after not feeling well. The coach, having excused himself from practice, stepped into a nearby hallway and quickly collapsed. 2 minutes later, the players discovered their fallen coach while taking a water break and immediately called out to the coaching staff for help. The coaching staff attended to their fallen friend, but struggled to keep focus as they battled their natural emotions. It was then that Tyler Borneman, a volunteer coach, took charge and began performing CPR with exacting precision, alternating between compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. For the next 4 minutes, Tyler continued his efforts in earnest until Waterloo Emergency Services arrived. EMS then took over, brought additional care to Coach, and restored the faintest hint of a pulse. Medical professionals later acknowledged that Tyler's actions had a significant impact in his colleagues surviving what otherwise would have been a near certain fatal event. For his critical role in ensuring his fellow coach received immediate, effective, and life-saving care, Tyler Borneman is receiving the Life-Saving Award. Please join me in congratulating Tyler. Our next recipient is receiving the Life-Saving Award with Valor. Would you please stand as I introduce you? Evan Scheck, Life-Saving Award with Valor. On May 9th, 2024, Evan Scheck of Spirit Lake was coaching the Spencer High School girls tennis team when players reported hearing screams nearby. Bystanders quickly discovered that two 12-year-old boys had been swept away while trying to cross a bike path flooded by the Little Sioux River. One boy was standing in the rushing waters, while another was clinging to a power pole along the river's swollen banks. Without hesitation, Evan entered the rapid waters, thinking to himself, "If not me, then who?" After reaching the boys, Evan found them both clearly in shock, with one constantly muttering to himself that he did not want to die. Evan was able to successfully guide the closer of the two boys to safety. Despite the protests from his fellow coaches and players, Evan then re-entered the deep, swift-moving water in an effort to help the second boy. He soon realized, however, that the water was too deep, the current too strong to safely navigate back to shore. So he stayed with the second boy, keeping him calm and secure until help arrived. Once on scene, first responders threw Evan a flotation device. Evan was able to secure both he and the boy to the device, and together they were pulled to safety. For his selfless heroism in dire circumstances, Evan Scheck is being honored with the Lifesaving Award with Valor. Please join me in congratulating Evan. Our final recipient is also receiving the Life-Saving Award with Valor. Would you please stand as I introduce you? You're going to get me, Joseph. We'll see if we can get through this. Joseph Salmon, Life-Saving Award with Valor. On February 4th, 2023, 17-year-old Joseph Salmon was ice fishing with his mother on East Okoboji Lake when he witnessed a Jeep plunge through the ice and slide into the lake's icy waters. Without hesitation, Joseph sprang into action. As he rushed to the scene, Joseph overheard a bystander exclaim that it looked as though there was a child inside the partially submerged car. With remarkable bravery, Joseph stripped away his outer layer of clothing and entered the freezing waters. Once at the submerged vehicle, Joseph quickly found the doors were locked. Undeterred, Joseph immediately shattered the back window with a knife, thus enabling his entry into the Jeep. Once inside, he found what the bystander had thought was a child was actually the driver's dog. Joseph quickly freed the dog and then returned for the 83-year-old driver. Joseph saw the man was trapped, with his foot wedged between the center console and the seat, and that he appeared to be suffering from shock. Joseph quickly repositioned himself so he could free the man's leg and then attempted to guide him out through the narrow opening between the seat and the roof. Realizing the gap was too tight, Joseph went back inside the vehicle, adjusted the seat, and was able to gain just enough space to pull the driver out by his shoulders. Because of Joseph's actions, both the driver and his dog emerged from that harrowing event relatively unscathed. For his remarkable courage and unwavering resolve in the face of danger, Joseph Salmon is receiving the Life-Saving Award for Valor. Joseph was unable to attend last year's ceremony due to a hunting accident that kept him hospitalized for an extended period of time, so we are grateful that he's here today and that we get to honor him. His selfless actions on that cold winter day embody a spirit of heroism that is truly remarkable. Please join me in congratulating Joseph. I did all right. I got through most of it. I think Dad and family members were joining me, getting a little emotional. But please join me in one final big round of applause for these heroic Iowans. And I always think it's important to note in these that we look at their impact on the lives that they saved, but what we oftentimes overlook is the rippling impact it had on the loved ones that were saved as well, because their actions changed the course of history for a family. It had generational impacts that is oftentimes lost on us. And now we'd like to shift our attention to the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor. The origin of this award lies with 5 brothers from Waterloo, Iowa, who enlisted and served together as sailors in the Navy during World War II. George, Frank, Joe, Matt, and Albert Sullivan all in their 20s, served together on the USS Juno in the Guadalcanal naval battle in the fall of 1942. All 5 brothers died tragically when 2 Japanese torpedoes struck their ship. The award was established in 1977 and later renamed the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor to recognize the heroic efforts of first responders. This award recognizes peace officers and firefighters who, while serving in an official capacity, distinguish themselves by their performance of heroic acts far in excess of the normal demands of their duties. The recipients of the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor are selected by a committee within the first responder community. These committee members devote valuable time and effort to review each and every nomination. This award is truly an honor, and the nominees must meet strict guidelines. Peace officers and firefighters often go above and beyond what we expect from other citizens, but these awards of valor are designed to recognize those who go beyond the usual. Today, we honor 3 members from the O-Line Police Department with the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor. Would you please stand when introduced? Officer Gage Vachelle, Officer William Ward, Officer Cody Werzer. In the late evening hours of February 17th, 2024, a fire erupted on the 4th floor of the historic Mealy Hotel Apartments in downtown O-Line. Immediately after being notified of the fire, first responders from around the area rushed to the scene, with O-Line police officers Cody Werzer, Will Ward, and Gage Vachelle being the first to arrive. Once there, the officers quickly assessed the situation and detected smoke emanating from the 4th floor. The officers immediately began a systematic door-to-door evacuation of the residents. As they progressed to the 4th floor hallway, heavy smoke stung their eyes, obstructed their view, and labored their breathing. Despite the conditions and without protective equipment, the officers pressed forward and eventually encountered a particularly smoke-filled apartment. From the doorway, the officers called out to any occupants inside, and over the din heard the faintest of responses. Officer Werzer immediately dropped to the floor and crawled inside the apartment. Despite being blinded by smoke, Officer Werzer located a distressed and disoriented man inside. While crouched on the floor, Officer Werzer pulled the man off a nearby couch and then called to his fellow officers for help. Officers Ward and Vachelle quickly propelled themselves through the throat-choking haze, and together they dragged the man from the apartment, down the hallway, into a nearby stairwell, and to safety. Meanwhile, firefighters from throughout the area quickly descended on the scene and were able to confine the fire to that single 4th floor apartment. The apartment's occupant was quickly whisked away via ambulance and treated at a nearby hospital. Meanwhile, the 3 officers were treated for smoke inhalation. These 3 officers showed exceptional courage and judgment, knowing that immediate action was necessary. They disregarded their own safety by plunging into a smoke-billowing apartment without the benefit of safety equipment to preserve life. In recognition of their bravery and commitment to duty, Officers Cody Werzer, Will Ward, and Gage Vachelle have been selected to receive the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor. Their heroic actions exemplify the very essence of this award and showcased a level of dedication and selflessness that went well beyond the normal demands of their duties. Please join me in congratulating these brave men. So there's a reason why this ceremony tends to get me. Some of it, as I've joked, is when you turn 50, you cry at the drop of a hat. But the other piece of it is because it reminds me of a story from, I guess, my life, and it starts back about 49 years ago. I was not a police officer, but my dad was. He was a police officer in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And in 1975, my dad entered a burning building just like these officers did. He went inside because there was a little boy trapped inside. And he went in and saved that little boy. And I remember as I was growing up, I always kind of wondered to myself, at that time, my dad was 29 years old. He'd been married 3 years, and he had a 1-year-old little boy at home named Steve. That was me. And I always wondered, why would my dad risk going into a burning building with what he had at home? And it took me the better part of my adult life to really get the answer. And when I was going through my dad's belongings, I found a tattered newspaper clipping that talked about what my dad did on that day in the award. And one of the reporters asked my dad, "What were you thinking about when you went through that door to save that little boy?" And his response was singular. It was 2 words, and he said, "My boy." And really, that's the difference. Why first responders do what they do is not because they enjoy the danger, not because they're thrill seekers, but in large part, they go forward because they're not willing to let someone else lose a little boy. That's why my dad went through the door. That's why these men went through the door. That's why these men did what they did on that day, because they were unwilling to see someone else lose their life that day, and they were willing, capable, and able to risk their own. That is remarkable. That is unique in many respects to Iowa, and why I love living in this place, and why I love coming here each year to talk about heroic and monumental efforts of Iowans. So in closing, congratulations to all the award recipients. If you know of someone out there whose bravery should be recognized, please let us know or visit the Department of Public Safety's website. Thank you all for honoring these heroes by your presence here today. We ask that the recipients, family members, and friends please join us up here for some group pictures on the staircase. If you'd like to do so, please form a line here to my right along the north wall, and we'll start in a few minutes. We'll make the photos available on our website later this afternoon. Finally, I'd like to ask the Young Patriots to bring our ceremony to a close with a poem and by singing "God Bless America."
Good morning. I'm Julie Duker, the director of Young Patriots Club, and we're from Mount Olive Lutheran School in Des Moines. I have 2 of our youth leaders here today, Joshua Carey on my left and Fletcher Hesseltine on my right, and they're going to share a poem that I wrote called "What Makes a Hero," because I've been at programs like this and been truly inspired by what I've seen and heard. And I think I speak for our whole club in saying, we leave here inspired to live like you, and we pray we will behave like you in moments like that. So Josh and Fletcher.
All right, boys, come on up. Talk loud.
What makes a hero a hero? What makes a hero a hero? Some would say it's the way they live. Others would say it's the way they died. But most agree it's the way they give.
Giving when it isn't safe because they are compelled. Giving when it doesn't matter, the consequences held.
Stepping in to do something when no one else can help. Turning their back on excuses, not on someone else.
Sacrificing in ways unknown, reaching a hand out to another. Becoming just what someone needs, being anyone's sister or brother.
So whether your giving has been done in a bold or quiet way, your giving has made a difference. You've been named a hero today.